So the Riot devs played a little trick on us. So we got the Teamfight Tactics patch notes for 11.13, and if we look at this little chart here, their little preview, not too much is there. However, don't be fooled. This graphic now only includes all the major changes, and a lot of the tiny changes that they do add into the patch are still there. They are just not on this graphic anymore. So another big patch, so let's just get right into it. Major buffs so far: Skirmishers, Kled, Poppy, Kennen, Ashe, Ionic Spark, and Eclipse Cape. Nerfs to Yasuo and Ryze, and reworks for Trundle, Nidalee, Kayle, and Infinity Edge. But yet again, another huge patch for Set 5. First up, we have TFT Turns 2. Oh yeah, 2 years anniversary for Teamfight Tactics. So between now and July 7th, we get a piece of cake. So definitely log in and claim this new little legend that you can get. So onto the system changes. So this one is a big one. So we added stronger armory options last patch, and we're pretty happy with how they turned out, but sometimes the options feel like they're on totally different power levels. I completely agree. They're reforging the options to make them all feel good. You see what they did there? Pretty clever. So since you guys are on my channel, obviously I do all the research for every single patch. These are the changes posted by the game developer himself, Riot Mortdog, and it shows the differences between the patch 11.12 armory and the patch 11.13. So you'll notice that we have a higher chance to have a stage 4-2 armory, we have a lower chance to get a stage 5 armory, and the chances for stages 6 and 7 remain the same. Also notice that the chance for getting an emblem has reduced. I'll leave the link for this tweet in the description below if you guys want to get into the exact changes, but a lot of you guys on my Discord already knew about this because we have like a direct feed in my Discord every time a big announcement happens. So if you guys are not part of the Discord gang, definitely go check that out, discord.gg/BunnyMuffins. But to sum up that little chart, we have 2 full items plus 2 special item armory is replaced with 4 full items. 2 components plus 2 special items is now replaced with 2 components plus 2 full armory items. And then all in all, chances of seeing emblems are lower. And then in the stage 4 through 7 carousels, chances of seeing emblems are lower, as well as the chances of seeing a special item are also lower. Moving on into the large changes. Yeah, so they separated the patch between large and small changes. So expect these changes to significantly impact the current play. So first off, we have traits. 6 and 9 Skirmishers still have not found their footing after their fall from power in patch 11.11. Yeah, because you guys nerfed them way too hard, as I talked about in many previous patches before, but they are buffing them now. They're just getting a 5% buff on their shield at Skirmisher 6, and then 15% at Skirmisher 9. So no one plays Skirmisher 9 ever. No one's ever going to play that in general, because getting to level 9 is very difficult, even with emblems helping you get to 9 Skirmishers. It's just difficult to physically actually get to level 9, which means that the only real buff is the 6 Skirmisher change, but this is so small compared to the power level of Skirmishers before that I don't think it's actually going to do anything. People have been playing reroll Skirmishers for a little bit, but it's really not like anywhere near even like an A tier comp. It's definitely a B tier for now. So even with this buff, they probably went from like B to B+, not quite in the A tier in my opinion, unless they add a lot of comps that it could counter, or if they nerf all the counters to Skirmishers, which I doubt they did. So next up is Champion Tier 1. We have Kled gaining bonus damage every 4th attack even while mounted, Kled gaining attack speed, and then Poppy losing 10 regular mana and maximum mana, which is a buff overall because now he gets his subsequent casts even faster. Buckler Toss damage is being increased at 3-star, and also Buckler Toss Shield is being increased at 2 and 3-star. So buff to Poppy, buff to Kled. Hopefully they're making Hellion a little stronger. I'm glad that they are doing this because they're actually going to nerf Ziggs in a patch before, but they decided not to because like everyone was like, no one's playing Hellions, why are you nerfing Ziggs? So I'm glad that they're giving power to some of the other Hellions. Now onto Champion Tier 2. Kennen starting mana buff by 10, and then his Flame Rush damage is being buffed at 3-star and 2-star, and the 3-star one is by quite a bit. So 3-star Kennen probably going to be pretty good. Trundle Subjugate is reworked. Trundle now gains his target's strength, reducing their health, armor, and magic resist, and attack damage by 35%, and granting himself a 100, 130, and 200% modified by AP of their drained stats for 8 seconds. So now he no longer makes your guy useless, but he could steal a lot of it and make himself a lot stronger, is what I'm seeing. Trundle's mana adjusted is now being changed. Instead of 0 out of 60, it's now 30 out of 80, so his first cast gets off slightly faster, but all the next ones are slower. Champion Tier 3, Ashe Enchanted Arrow is being buffed at 2 and 3-star. Yeah, that's fine. Ashe isn't really played that much. If you go Rangers, you're mainly going for an Aphelios build. You only really play Ashe if you get the perfect Draconic start and you get Ashe items, which is pretty rare in most cases. Nidalee aspect of the Cougar reworked. Nidalee transforms into a Cougar and leaps behind the lowest health enemy. While in Cougar form, Nidalee gains 45% dodge chance, bunch of attack speed, and her attacks become melee attacks that deal bonus damage every fourth attack. So now they took out the dodge portion causing the bonus attack, and now they're just making it every fourth auto. A little strange. I kind of thought that mechanic was cool, but yeah, it was a little strange to play around. Based on this change, they decided it was worth it to nerf her attack damage, so we're just going to trust them on that because we've never played with a new Nidalee, so we don't actually know how strong the extra attack damage was on her. Yasuo Burning Blade is being nerfed by 50 at all levels, and stacking on-hit damage is also being nerfed by 5 at all levels, so pretty sizable Yasuo nerf. I know Yasuo is like a good comp and all, but I wonder if this was the best way to do it. I'm thinking maybe they could have nerfed something else instead. Maybe some of his complementary units. Because I don't actually think Yasuo himself is that good because he requires so many things to go right for you in your game. It just happens to be a patch where he is good at right now. But they probably did need to touch him up. This is the easiest way to do it. But I wish maybe like the 3-star Yasuo could have stayed the same strength and then they just nerfed the 1 and 2-star Yasuo. That's probably what I would have liked to see instead. Onto the tier 4 champions. Ryze attack speed. Oh, and the reason why I would like that is because 3-star 3 cost I feel like should win a lot of games because it's actually pretty difficult to get. You definitely don't get it every game. And the difference in the power spike between 2-star 3 cost and 3-star 3 cost is absolutely monumental. So I feel like it's nice to reward yourself if you do get to that point. Onto tier 4s, Ryze attack speed being buffed, but his Rune Prison now stuns secondary targets for half the stun duration instead of the full one. The main target is still stunned for the same full duration. So very needed nerf, guys. Like, I don't know if you guys knew, but the reason why Draven was so good was because Ryze is so good. So on my meta snapshot in the Forgotten comp, like, you put the dark blue buff on Ryze, it's a no-brainer. It's super, super good on him because he is actually the main carry of the composition. I've talked about this a lot before, like mana items on Ryze is super, super strong, but instead of nerfing dark blue buff, they decided to just nerf Ryze as a whole, which probably is fair. I wish they didn't do it because, like, obviously I knew it was super OP, but not everyone did. So it's something that we could have taken advantage of a little longer, but unfortunately they nerfed it. Mana items are still going to be good on Ryze. He's still going to be fine. He's still going to be CCing so many different people. So I still think he's going to be good. They definitely needed to like nerf that AoE stun because he's essentially like a ranged AoE stun person, which shouldn't exist in the game because it's so much value for such a safe unit. Onto tier 5, Kayle is being reworked, so she's gaining a bunch of health, gaining a bunch of attack damage, gaining attack speed, but her attacks per immunity is being increased by 5, and her Ascension 4 AoE spell damage is being reduced by quite a bit. So overall, she's going to be better in the early parts of the fight and weaker later. So she's not just going to auto-win at that point in time. So I like that. Seems pretty fair. Now onto the items. Using Sacrificial Infinity Edge will no longer cost Pantheon and Vel'Koz everything. Ambulance can now heal Eclipse Cape users after the first 8 seconds of combat. So they're reworking Sacrificial Infinity Edge. It now deals damage on attack and ability cast rather than on every instance of critical damage. Sac Infinity Edge new tooltips grants 75% critical strike chance, including components, giving you 100% overall, and each point of critical strike damage above 100% becomes 1 critical strike bonus damage. The holder also gains 30% critical strike damage. Each time the holder attacks or casts their ability, they take true damage equal to 3% of their max health. So I wouldn't really call this a rework, it's just like slightly changed. Whenever I hear the word rework, I think of like a huge change, but this is just fixing Pantheon and Vel'Koz. Ionic Spark damage is now being increased to 250% of the caster's mana, so that is a buff there. And Eclipse Cape Self-Burn, instead of the entirety of combat, it now only lasts for the first 8 seconds. So that is a very good change. No one built this item pretty much ever. Now onto the small changes. So I love that they separated this because I remember one patch a while ago. They changed every 3-star 5 cost, like every single one in the game, and like everyone thought it was going to be the biggest patch ever, and they're like, why are you buffing this OP champion? Why are you nerfing this weak one? And then they were just changing all the 3-star versions and kind of baited everyone. So I'm glad that they separated them out of the graphic. However, I wouldn't say this is the perfect solution because some of these changes, like for example, if you nerf Ziggs by like 50 health or whatever, a lot of that has an impact on a lot of different comps on the meta, so even though the change may seem small, it actually affects a lot more than what it shows. And Riot has talked about this a lot, so I wonder why they are kind of inconsistent in that matter. I feel like the small changes section should only be for the stupid ones like buffing a 3-star 5-cost unit or adding like an 11-person trait or something like that. Like, I know they haven't done that before, but I wouldn't put it past them. So Forgotten mustn't forget to build shadow items if they want to stay S tier. S stands for spooky, by the way. I agree with that. Forgottens, they never really use that part of their trait. Like, you just go 6 Forgotten and you're chilling. You're not like, oh, make sure I get like 2 shadow items in order to make it good. So no one did that. People got dark blue buff Ryze because Ryze was good, not because Forgotten was good. But Abomination changes, they are being nerfed at 4 and 5 Abomination. 5 Abomination was a very strong trait. You just kind of run random stuff with it. You just need A-Bomb spats to get it, though. But I feel like since A-Bomb spatulas are going to be more difficult to get because they're nerfing the emblem drop rates from the armories, I didn't feel like they needed to nerf this. The attack damage per star level is also being nerfed by 1 at 4 Abomination and 2 at 5 Abomination. So yeah, I don't feel like they needed to do that because, again, they were reducing the emblem drops, which greatly empowers the Abomination comp. Dragon Slayer's self bonus ability power is now being reduced at 4 Dragon Slayer. Was 4 Dragon Slayer that good? I had no idea, but I guess they say so. Maybe according to the data, it was like that. Forgotten base damage and ability power is being reduced by 5 at 3 Forgotten, 10 at 6 Forgotten, and 15 at 9 Forgotten. And then the Forgotten bonus per shadow item is now being increased from 10% to 15%. Again, all fair play there. I feel like you should be building more shadow items when you go this comp. If anything, they should make this even more extreme than what they're doing right now, because then it's much more thematic with the build. Ironclad's getting a nerf. 5 armor at 2 Ironclad, 3, and then 10 armor at 4 Ironclad. So was Ironclad really that strong? I personally had no idea. Like, the units are good, because Rell is obviously amazing, but then Jax and Nautilus are kind of whatever, you know? But I guess with the emblems, it got a little better, but they nerfed the emblem drops, so I really wonder why they ended up nerfing the actual trait as well. Knight block damage is being buffed. Okay, that's good. So Knights were actually horrible at 2 Knights, but they are nerfing 6 Knights, so that is a little bit more of a change rather than like a complete buff or nerf. So it really nerfs Kayle, but it buffs all the early game Knights, which I think is fair. Legionnaire attack speed is going to be changed. They are going to buff 8 Legionnaires, so who cares about that? No one does that anymore. Ranger bonus attack speed is now being buffed by 5 at 2 Ranger. I like this a lot because I feel like Rangers are always behind everyone else currently. Actually, like kind of the whole set. Redeemed AP, armor, and MR is now being increased at 9 redeemed, and then Renewer, HP, and mana regen is now being changed from 3-6-10 to 3-6-9. Buffing 6 Renewer, very interesting. So these two changes, these are the types of things I'd want to see in the small changes part. But if you're doing something like what we're seeing next, which is a Ziggs Nerf, like, or even the Varus Nerf down here, it definitely changes the game a lot more than like something like this, and arguably should be included in the large changes section. So I feel like they should rename these because obviously, like, you're changing Varus by like 5% here, 5% there. Like, it theoretically is a small change, but it might have a bigger impact on the meta than what they're saying. So I feel like they should say like impactful changes and then maybe like for fun changes. Do a better word for fun, but like use that type of theme in my opinion. But going back to the champion, Ziggs nerfed by 50 health. They just really hate Ziggs for some reason. They said he was like way too strong for what he does. I really didn't think so because Hellions kind of sucked, but they did buff the other Hellions in the early game. He's also getting a damage buff, so I guess that does compensate a little bit for the health nerf. Now onto tier 2, Soraka Mana Reave increase is now being changed. 3-star Soraka now only does 35%. Varus Holy Arrow's attack damage ratio is now being changed from 160 to 155 at 2-star Varus and then 180 to 165 at 3-star. Was Varus really still that OP? So in my meta snapshot, I put him at, I think, bottom of B tier, but I really don't think he does warrant having a nerf because I think he's a very cool champion concept. And I think, like, based on his actual playing strength, based on, like, watching a lot of high-level players play the game, and looking at the data, like, I don't really think Varus was actually that broken. I know this is just one part of his kit, so it is a very small nerf, even though the numbers may look a little big. Again, the redeem players, they were playing, like, Vel'Koz and Lux builds, and Varus wasn't really a part of that, so, again, no one was really dominating with 3-star Varus. I don't really see the point of this, but whatever, I guess we just have to deal with it, you know? Champions tier 3, Katarina Sinister Blade primary damage is being reduced, at 1 star, and same with the secondary damage, just reduced at 1 star. They're keeping the other ones strong, and I like this a lot. Katarina was kind of my go-to early game unit. She, for some reason, just beats every team in stage 2. You could have 0 items, 0 synergies on her, and she would just dominate during stage 2. So they are nerfing that, which is good. Lee Sin cripple damage. Oh, my boy Lee Sin. Yeah, he should be nerfed at 3 star. He was a little annoying. Lux Prismatic Illumination Shield is also being changed. She is now being nerfed at 1 and 2 star, but her 3 star is still intact if you guys want to go for a reroll Lux. Zyra Grasping Roots hitbox has been increased slightly, so that is definitely a buff to Zyra. 4 star champions. Aphelios Dark Vigil base damage is now being increased at 1 star, so you now stabilize a little harder with him at 1 star. Jack's attack speed increased. Karma Soul Flare damage is being nerfed at 1 and 2 star. Pretty sizable. See what I mean? Like, this change, it's a small change, but it's probably going to impact her a lot because this 20 damage difference is a difference between one-shotting people or two-shotting people, which is very, very critical damage threshold on Karma. Rell Attract and Repel shield amount is being changed and is being nerfed at 1 and 2 star. Very fair. Rell was... See, she's always like one of the best tanks in the game right now. She protects her carry, she stuns units around her and your carry, and gives this giant AoE shield. Like, wow. Cannot ask for much more from a 4-cost tank. Taric's starting mana buff, he now is going to cast a little faster than he did before. I thought Taric was fine. Taric's kind of that champion where he's a very good standalone champion. Like, speaking of Rell and 4-cost tanks, like, Taric is up there in terms of like really strong 4-cost tanks, but his synergies just are really bad. Rell is Ironclad Cavalier, whereas Taric is a knight, and knights generally suck outside of 6 knights. And then he's a verdant unit, but like no one really uses verdant, so he's kind of just like a naked strong unit with no synergies. So that's why he kind of feels bad, even though he's actually a really good unit. Tier 5 champions. Teemo's Cruel Infernal Soul damage is now being nerfed at 1 star and 2 star. Yeah, Teemo's pretty strong. I feel like they just needed to nerf his 1 star. Like, maybe nerf his 1 star from 140 to 120, but keep his 2 star at 175 to make it still rewarding. I feel like that would have been a better change because right now people are stabilizing too hard with just a Teemo 1. They often don't even need to hit Teemo 2. And I feel like Teemo 2, since it costs 18 life to get it, it should feel like really powerful when you get it, in my opinion. Volibear starting mana buff by 10, so he'll be able to cast a little faster than he did before, which is very critical because some games he just never casts, and I guess that's why they're buffing it, so that makes sense. Archdemon Staff of Immortality mana ratio is being reduced to 350%. I guess like they're too afraid of Vlad. I didn't really think Vlad was that great, but some people were complaining about it. Giant Slayer maximum health threshold is being changed from 1750 to 1650, and then the bonus damage is being reduced to kind of justify for this buff. Makes complete sense. Not many people reach 1750 in this current set, so it is very fair to do this because no one was building this item. People are building Shadow Giant Slayer a bunch, but never the regular one. Redemption AoE damage reduction is now being nerfed by 5%, and then Locket of the Silver Lunari, the hidden OP item, is now being nerfed from 70 armor and magic resist down to 60. Very fair nerf. They probably might even need to nerf it even more, because you're still getting like a ton of stats from this for almost zero downside, in my opinion. So bug fixes. Fix a bug where 8 assassins would turn off the assassin bonus. Oh man, that's kind of depressing. Wolf, Daisy, and Heimerdinger's turret and Ziggurat Void Spawn now correctly have 130 base critical strike damage. Reforger will no longer reforge shadow components into the same component. Eclipse Cape will now apply its self-burn if equipped mid-combat. Revive effects, such as Guardian Angel and Revenant, will no longer trigger if its holder is affected by Kindred's ability. And then Teemo will now display correctly in the shop as costing health when rolled from a loaded dice. All in all, I like the changes a lot. I feel like there are a little things here and there, like Varus, kind of unnecessary. Teemo, I would have liked to see different numbers. Forgotten Change, I love that one a lot. I feel like they should run with that even stronger than they did in this current patch. Abominations, I didn't really feel like they needed a nerf because, again, the emblem changes from the armories is going to affect it, so I didn't really think they needed to do both types of changes to that. But looking at the summary, yeah, Skirmishers might need a little more before they get into really the A tier. I feel like a perfect game of TFT would have every comp be like B plus or A minus and nothing else. That would probably make the most sense, but I don't think Skirmishers are actually at the B plus tier after this little buff there, because it's barely anything, to be honest, and that's just the reroll Skirmisher variant. Jax still kind of sucks, even with that small attack speed buff. Ryze changed, fantastic. Ryze was way too broken. And then the reworks, we'll see how they work out because Kayle definitely got weaker in my opinion. Trundle and Nidalee, we'll just have to see. But I like what they're doing with the items. A lot of the items that suck, they are buffing, so it encourages people to build them more often, or maybe it doesn't feel as bad to slam it in the early game. I'm all for it, but let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are on the patch. And if you guys enjoyed this review, I am going to be releasing a meta snapshot on Friday, which tells you all the good comps to go for in the current patch. And I do this every Friday. I've done this for like 5 sets now. So definitely subscribe for that below if you are not already and turn on notifications. Apart from that, don't forget to pick up your birthday cake, and I will see you guys later.